I find comfort games strange. Not because I don't understand them, I do. I find comfort in games myself, but I don't have any comfort games, not even one. As a gamer, I'm riddled with the curse of the backlogs. I have loads of games to play, but no games to play. This can cause unnecessary stress when I come to play something and can't decide where I want to put my time. I normally end up just browsing up and down my library as if it's going to change, expecting to find something new, like when you check the fridge over and over expecting a new snack to show up, and of course, it doesn't. I go through a cycle of checking my library, and then I'll look around the store page of whatever platform I'm on and just look at all the games that exist. I then give up and turn to TV or YouTube and waste my time there instead, still with the urge of wanting to play something, and yet if I did load up a game, it would be on for 5 minutes at most before I decide to switch it off. So that's why I find the idea of comfort in games a bit strange, because I don't have a single game that I can keep going back to knowing that the hour or more I put into it will give me any form of pleasure and a sense that I've recharged my battery before getting on with other responsibilities and life in general. I only recently found out that this is a somewhat common occurrence across players, and it's called gamer's block. It's exactly how it sounds. Someone wants to play games and they can't find the motivation or the enjoyment that games once brought them. I've experienced this multiple times, and yet at no point have I ever stuck to a single game that got me through those patches. This is where comfort games come in. They allow the player to slip back into something that they can familiarise themselves with and find that joy from. But why do we find comfort in games? Well, as covered in this Team Liquid article, there are 4 common factors that were found when people were asked about what makes a comfort game. The first of which is familiarity. For those with comfort games, it can be relaxing knowing that they know the game inside and out. There's no anxiety caused because they know what comes next and they know how to deal with it. And this can go for any genre really. It could be a sim where you're asked to complete mundane tasks over and over, like spraying a car in Power Wash Simulator. Maybe it's an action-adventure game like Uncharted and you know exactly how to get through a mission without breaking a sweat. Maybe it's a horror game and you've removed all the horror from it because you understand the mechanics, you know where the jump scares are and you know how to deal with the thing chasing you like in Alien Isolation. Knowing what you're getting yourself in for is comforting. Sometimes games can be like going for an interview. You have a general idea of the type of questions they're going to ask of you, and yet you don't know exactly. Once you have answered one question, you don't know what's expected of you next. It's like horror games, for example. You know the genre, but you don't know exactly how it's going to scare you. You'll figure out one mechanic, but is that going to be the same throughout? An article from The Gamer titled Comfort Games, The Psychology Behind Nostalgic Gaming, Ryan Bamsey states, "Some will say that it's the very lack of surprise that makes these comforts so comfortable. When you know exactly what's coming next, you can experience a game rather passively. Passively experiencing a game sounds like when you put a movie on the side whilst you try to study or work. It's a small distraction that subconsciously causes your work to feel a little less mandatory and helps you to ease into it and be productive without putting all your attention and focus onto something that you don't particularly want to. Why would you want to passively experience a game? Shouldn't you want to be on the edge of your seat, encapsulated and having time fly by without ever taking your eyes off the game? Well, no. Not all of the time. This is why comfort is loved. Sometimes you don't have the time or the energy to pour that amount of dedication into something. Instead, you want to play something to switch your brain off and capture that sense of productivity whilst actually doing very little in the real world. With a lack of energy, you may want to play something where you're not required to put a lot of focus into it. We've all had times where we've sat and done nothing in a game. We've definitely all drove around in GTA acting like a normal citizen, abiding traffic laws and taking the city in as we drive around it. Games where it does not ask the player for a set standard of focus, like a multiplayer FPS for example, and instead gives the player that freedom of what they want to do and will allow the player to give 2%, 10% or 100% effort and focus and still feel like they're doing something, is why games like Animal Crossing, Stardew and even more action-based games like Breath of the Wild are some of the most common comfort games for players. In the Team Liquid article, their employees' favourite comfort games were Minecraft, Stardew, Animal Crossing, and closely followed by Breath of the Wild and Pokemon. There's a range there from sandboxes to Sims, open world adventures to catch them all games. The correlation between them all is the minimum effort you need to put into each to get some enjoyment out of them. If you decided you wanted to free roam a world in Minecraft, you can. If you want to explore and talk to NPCs in Stardew or Animal Crossing, you can. Want to ride your horse and just explore Hyrule? Go for it. There's no limit to how much or how little effort these games require from you. This links in with the next factor, versatility. The members that took part in the survey also gave versatility as a reason for a game being a comfort. What they meant by this was the games give them the ability to put in a lot of effort and do something which may be more challenging, or be more AFK and relaxed and do something more mindlessly. An example given was old school RuneScape. One person said, "You can go through and do the endgame raids or just relax and do some mindless fishing." This and focus is why competitive games aren't often comfort games, because you must be good at this one style of playing, and for the sake of winning, you must focus. When I think of versatility in games, I also think of RPGs that allow you to change your build to be incredibly overpowered should you wish to be so. Baldur's Gate 3, for example, has an incredible amount of options for the player to choose from. You can be a barbarian and throw people around, or you can choose a magic based build to pick people off from a distance. You can formulate a build centered around you, making it easier or harder depending on what you want. The last factor that played a part in the survey was music, and the nostalgia it can bring to some, and for others the calmness certain melodies can cause. It's almost stereotypical to associate comfort games with cartoony, cute art styles, relaxing themes, and a mix of fun mini-games and mundane tasks, but overall, music was a more prominent factor and more comforting for those who took part in the survey. Music is definitely an aspect of a game that I find comforting. Minecraft for me is a game where the music always makes me feel good. I don't play it often because, like many, I just go through 2-week phases, then there's the 6-month hiatus. There's something so soothing, calming and comforting about the music of Minecraft to me. It may not be for everyone, and you may find the same feelings I do, just in other soundtracks. It may be linked with nostalgia, as I used to play Minecraft a lot when I was young, and at the time it was maybe even a comfort game for me, but I might have grown out of the gameplay, but not the music. It's that alone that comforts me. C418's Aria Math, what you're hearing now, is one of the songs I could listen to for hours and not get sick of. It reminds me of times just flying around in creative mode, building things and experimenting with redstone, just good times as a kid that even to this day makes me grin. Another game where the music is comforting is Hollow Knight. Granted, not all the time, considering this game has some of the best, most hype music in any game I've ever played, but one area in particular gives me the feeling of comfort. And if you've played, you probably know exactly what I'm about to say. The City of Tears. Its atmospheric palette combined with the vocals of Amelia are just something else. The music complements the area's design and vice versa. The tranquil blue of the environment mixed with the endless rain is so relaxing. I'm not a summer person. I much prefer the winter, and my favourite weather are thunderstorms. When I found the bench where you sit with Quirrell, against the window as you watch the barrage of rain fall and the soothing voice of Amelia is heard in the background, it quickly became the most comforting moment in any game. It's just such a perfect moment for me. I'm a simple man. Give me a game, give me a window, give me a thunderstorm and I'm happy. Give me my dogs, put them on a lead, stick me in a field and turn the weather cycle to rain and I'm happy. I find a lot of relaxation when sat near a window watching the rain fall and hearing it bounce off the glass and the surrounding rooftops. It depresses some, but for me it's tranquility. Take that and translate that feeling into a game and you get Hollow Knight in the City of Tears. Other games may have different moments where you may have felt something similar. One that I've very recently experienced was in Celeste. As I was jumping, dashing and struggling my way up the mountain, I came across Theo. He set up a small campfire and it's a moment of relief, as you know you don't need to try and make another jump. You can just sit and have a heart to heart with an NPC. Having that small break before getting back to filing down my joystick and sweating profusely was comforting, because that little refresher was enough time to acknowledge the challenge that I had just overcome. Granted, it was only a few levels of climbing and wasn't the hardest thing ever, but still it was a challenge. You aren't rewarded with much for completing the area other than progressing with the game, but you are rewarded with this checkpoint that allows you to breathe and relax, which on contrast to what was happening 10 minutes prior was a great feeling. This is where I find my comfort in games, in moments where I sometimes wouldn't have expected to. In the roguelike Hades, you fight your way out of hell over and over again with the help of the gods at your side. Well, besides Hades. As you fight your way through levels, you can come across rooms where you meet Charon. These rooms offer possible aids in your raid to escape the underworld. There's no fighting and no focus necessary, you can just take your time. There's similar rooms to these where you can meet NPCs like Sisyphus, who you can stop and have a wholesome chat with, but by far my favourite version of these rooms is in Asphodel with Eurydice. You enter the room and immediately hear her calm singing voice. It's the complete opposite of everything else outside the room. The chaos of trying to survive enemies whilst also trying to decide what build you want to go with and if your run seems good or not is all washed away with her songs. As someone who has had gamer's block on multiple occasions, I've come to learn that personally it's finding that comfort within discomfort, peace within chaos and success after failure. I struggle with failure, especially in games. I have the personality trait of needing to prevail against a challenge. I can't let it beat me. Elden Ring's first tree sentinel is not intended for the player to beat straight away. It's an introduction to its open world and tells the player, you're weak, go explore, come back later when you were leveled to beat this guy, but no, I fought it. I died so many times and yet I could not let myself leave and see another inch of its world without knowing that I had beat that boss. So that's what I did and that's what I do. I throw myself at it until I'm good enough to beat it. Only then will I explore the rest of the game. Completing these tasks that aren't mandatory of me is where I find comfort, knowing I learned, adapted and overcame. It's a chronic pain in the ass knowing that I can leave and do something else, either on the game or on another, but I just can't bring myself to do it. I physically fight with my brain and my hands, and the one more try mentality takes control whilst I just scream internally, but when it's completed, the feeling of relief is worth it. Hollow Knight's benches are inspired by the bonfires of Dark Souls, a series known for making people complain about difficulty and how challenging it can be, but the bonfires across the series are some of the most comforting things for me. Much like how in Celeste I came across a moment of peace and managed to take a moment of respite, the Dark Souls bonfires come as a checkpoint between some of the most difficult levels and bosses in all of game design. How does an infamously difficult franchise make me feel comfort? From the feeling of succeeding. If you've enjoyed the games before, you've most likely been stuck on an area or a boss, and after multiple attempts of throwing yourself at it over and over again, you keep failing. In Dark Souls it's mostly linear, so you either overcome what you're being presented with or you fail. You might decide to farm souls and level up, you could try changing your build. If it's a boss, you might start paying a bit more attention to the moveset and look for micro tells of certain attacks, or keep your eye open for when to counter. After finally getting through a tough area, you can see your goal in the distance. A bonfire, a place of safety. Nothing is going to hurt you there. You don't need to be on guard checking around every corner for hidden enemies. You can just sit and celebrate that you have done it. You have achieved what you aim to do. It's this feeling that has taught so many players that overcoming a challenge is not impossible, including in real life. I won't go into it too much as there's countless videos on how Dark Souls has helped people. But Souls games have been a comfort for people at their lowest. I mean their lowest. Multiple stories of people fighting back against the hollowing in their mind and overcoming the suicidal tendencies they felt. Life is a struggle and we must go on. Unfortunately, at times people don't feel that way. The challenge a boss can present is overshadowed by the challenge of getting out of bed for some. That feeling of finally learning a boss and completely ruining them, but most importantly knowing you did it, is motivation. That accomplishment may seem small, but it teaches the player it's possible. How many times have we been met with a boss and on our first attempt we got our arse handed to us and died quicker than Sir Gideon and said, this is impossible, I'm never getting this. Yes it is, and yes you are. You're going to fucking do this. I don't care how, but you will, and when you do beat it, the elation is like nothing else. That feeling of knowing it's possible, hell it wasn't, but you made it possible. That feeling knowing you can overcome anything. The Souls series can help a player learn that it's okay to struggle. It's okay to be beaten down repeatedly, but it's about walking back through that fog, not letting the fog cloud your mind, going toe to toe with the challenges head on and aiming to prevail. Whether you are beaten or you are victorious, you're met with the same thing, a bonfire. Look to it. The last challenge you faced was rewarded with a bonfire, the next will be too. Every time you achieve something you take a step closer to the end, and every victory you're reminded of with the coiled sword burning endlessly in the flames. You have done it already, you just have to keep taking that extra step. You made it past yesterday's challenge, today's may seem impossible but tomorrow is anew. And if you feel like giving up, don't you dare go hollow. Keep pushing, keep climbing, keep fighting, because on the other side is a bonfire waiting for you.